Listen.
Posłuchaj.
Écoute.
Escucha. MCO.
Listen. MCO.
MCO.
Between the bars.
There are so many layers of saying farewell. We said farewell to the nature, to plants, to animals. And now, it's not even about sapiens, it's about yourself. Standing in front of yourself and saying your personal farewell from you.
The opening theme of the slow movement of Robert Schumann's Violin Concerto, performed by Patricia Kopatchinskaja and the Mahler Chamber Orchestra, and including a short masterclass from Patricia in how to say farewell, even when it's too painful. Something Schumann himself was struggling with, as depression and suicide took over at the end of his own life. I'm Yannick Dondolanger, and you're listening to Between the Bars, the podcast of the Mahler Chamber Orchestra. Welcome to the third and last part of our mini-series, The Big Goodbye, a very frank conversation with violinist Patricia Kopatchinskaja about Les Adieux, a staged concert experience with the MCO, laying out her very personal feelings concerning climate change. From mashed-up nature scenes of Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony to a march funèbre for the animals of the world, Les Adieux is nearing the end. And, as is the way, I guess, when the end comes, us humans turn inward, to thoughts of our own mortality, to what we could have done, to what we did, and what we lost. Robert Schumann and Dmitri Shostakovich are Patricia's companions for this most personal of goodbyes. We come to Schumann and Shostakovich as the last two composers of the evening. Schumann's Ghost Variations, the last piece he composed, was it?
One of the last
pieces. And you played alone on a very lonely, out-of-tune upright piano at the side of the stage. After the Ghost Variations, it slides itself into the slow movement of his violin concerto and then slides again into the Passacaglia movement of Shostakovich's first violin concerto. And some people in the audience will know the history of these three pieces and these two composers, Schumann and Shostakovich. With the Schumann, and again, please correct me if I'm wrong, it feels like we're talking about Schumann living and dying with the despair of his mental condition, and Shostakovich living and dying within the despair of a repressive society. We're talking about the human loss here now. To me, it feels like the second half of the concert is about how do we sapiens deal with our own demise.
That's absolutely right. The story of the Ghost Variation is very interesting because Schumann already composed the melody of the Ghost Variations, the theme. It is the slow movement of the violin concerto. The violin concerto is already his last symphonic work. And after that, he hallucinated or he dreamed in the night that two spirits or ghosts, Schubert and Mendelssohn, appeared and sang him this melody. And he wanted to write it down again, but so he forgot, or maybe he knew that he composed it already. Anyway, he wrote it again and used it for the theme for the Ghost Variations. And I think during he composed the variations, he decided to kill himself, to suicide, and he went into the Rhine. And the first thing that he did, he took his marriage ring and he threw it into the water. So it's like to say goodbye to his big love, Clara, first. This is what he did. And then he thrown himself into the water, and then the fishermen rescued him, but he didn't want. He really didn't want to live anymore. So this is a very strange melody in a complete solitude. I think it's a very touching moment in the concert. It's just 2 minutes, but being so alone on stage with this wrong, bad piano.
We've met in MCO sometimes music students on the education projects we have. I have spoken to students in their early 20s who have told me they will not have children. They will not bring a child into this world. At the same time, I've noticed more and more news articles about the mental stress of climate change. It's called climate anxiety. And also the mental studies pointing towards such things as depressions and eating disorders that people are getting. I'm presuming you yourself have climate anxiety sometimes. You must creating a project like this, like Les Adieux.
Yes, of course. But I think not enough people are afraid or aware of where are we going, actually. The end is very, very soon in the history of our planet, of our humanity. We are in the end of the cadence of Shostakovich, actually. This is where the veil falls down and where we disappear. This is the moment we are now. And I have no hope anymore. All these discussions about how could we do it better and all that, it doesn't help anymore because not everybody will do it, and it's a thing of luxury. The poverty is so big on our planet that they will not care about anything else than surviving themselves.
You were born in what is the former Soviet Russia in Moldova. At the moment, it's precariously on the edge of the Russia-Ukraine war. And there is a direct connection between climate change and war. I was just reading an article 2 days ago by John Kerry, who leads the American climate efforts, warning, to quote him, a longer Ukraine war will threaten climate efforts. And he goes on to talk about widespread displacement of populations, food crisis, destruction, pollution, and the loss of biodiversity. Do you also see that direct connection?
Yes, I think the reason of all wars is the climate change. Also this word is strange, climate change. Climate crisis, climate catastrophe, this is the right thing to say. But also, everybody tries to make it more beautiful. Don't be afraid, don't worry, we will do it. There must be a hope. I think it's so cheap to say that.
But you're talking about climate denial or people...
Climate denial, but also making it smaller and harmless. I think we should speak a direct text on stage. This is our aim. The art has a very big power. compared with scientists who speak to us with numbers, and I have no relationship to numbers. I don't feel them. You can show me any number. I cannot imagine them. And so many people as well. So it doesn't really touch me. But I think we, musicians, we have this power, and we are watched for 2 hours long.
Going back to the end of Les Adieux, after the Shostakovich cadenza and all the suffering, we, as you said earlier, Mahler Chamber Orchestra and you disappear under a huge veil and a very special instrument, I'd like you in a second to describe for us and the history of that instrument, starts up, and I'm one of the people under the veil myself, so this is actually the part of the evening I can't see or fully understand because I don't see anything. But my ears tell me it's a sort of hanging motionless at the edge of time. I guess you're going to say it's the end of time. What is the end of Les Adieux?
The last sound of an animal, maybe, I don't know. The Spanish musician and instrument maker, Abraham Copero, I didn't know him, but Giovanni Antonini sent me some links with him on YouTube, and I was admiring him, listening to sounds that I never heard in my life. He is a curious person. He did something impossible. He saw on a Roman coin an instrument called karmix, and he rebuilt it, but he didn't know the size of the instrument. And afterwards, they found this instrument, and the sizes were right, as he imagined. And this instrument was found in Pompeii. So really, this is exactly what we see on stage. It's the burnt earth, like after a lava or something, and end of the world. And this is the instrument which is still floating somewhere in the cosmos, in this universe. And I believe that sounds will never end. I believe that our souls getting into molecules, becoming as small as possible, they are going into infinity together with these sounds.
When you come home after a project, especially one as very strong as Les Adieux, how do you relax? Do you relax? How do you climb down from the music that's in your head, or do you just not do that?
It's a very difficult time between concerts for me, because it's not the most beautiful way to describe, but when I play a piece, it's like I'm sick with a illness. This is the piece, it's my illness. And I'm inside of that piece, and I suffer, I also enjoy, but it's really all of me. And then I have to get into the next illness.
So playing music is not really a therapy, it's quite the opposite.
No, it's getting in troubles, actually, for me.
How was it in Corona times? Because you had large expanses of time.
I was very depressed. In the first lockdown, I was completely lost. I didn't know who I am. What should I do? How can I be at home? What is it? I was completely lost.
So you need this driving and the conflict that music... It's a driving force. You need
I think I need to move all the time, to do something all the time. Then I'm good. But when it stops suddenly, I realize I don't know who I am. I'm nobody. And playing a piece, I become the piece. This is my identity. And in the between, I'm nothing important. There are so many adventures. There is no end. There is no end. We can do so many things.
It's nice to hear you say that.
Violinist Patricia Kopatchinskaja has taken us on an important journey. From the pre-industrial music of Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony, through the doubting, tormented musical self-psyche of Robert Schumann's Violin Concerto, written during the early decades of the Industrial Revolution, to Dmitri Shostakovich's mid-20th century masterpiece of social comment on Stalin's post-World War II USSR, and finishing with eerily timeless improvisations on the ancient Karnik's instrument, that I've recently learned from Wikipedia was most probably originally an instrument of war, used to incite troops to battle and intimidate opponents. Except at the end of Les Adieux, it could instead be a sad echo of the war humans have waged on our planet Earth. From Beethoven's 1808 to Patricia's 2022 is a mere 214 years, a nanoblip of time in the history and development of our planet. To give some perspective, there are a few remarkable species of mammals alive today, such as rockfish, bowhead whales, red sea urchins, and even some giant tortoises, that have in fact lived longer than Beethoven's music. And yet, in this tiny infinitesimal length of time in Earth's approximately 4.5 billion year history, in this last 214 years, human activity has already raised the average global temperature by about 1 degree centigrade. And according to the World Wildlife Fund, we have killed off 60% of mammals, birds, fish, and reptiles in just the last 40 years. Meanwhile, our own human population has expanded from 1 billion in Beethoven's time to more than 7 billion today. The numbers are so big that I can understand Patricia having no feel for them. So here comes a very small number instead. 0.007%. Maybe the story of Homo sapiens is destined to fill just a short paragraph in Earth's long history. 0.007% and counting. A huge thank you to the wonderful violinist Patricia Kopatchinskaja for spending the time to talk to Between the Bars just before a performance of Les Adieux while having a cold. And thank you to all the musicians of the Mahler Chamber Orchestra and to Abraham Copiero, who performed that evening in Hamburg and on these 3 The Big Goodbye episodes. So you can see what me and Patricia have been chatting about. The Les Adieux concert is available to stream through 2023 on YouTube and also the website of the Elbphilharmonie Concert Hall. Just go to the menu and select Mediatek. Les Adieux is a co-production of Ludwigsburger Schloss Festspiele, Stiftung Berliner Philharmoniker, the Elbphilharmonie Hamburg, and the Mahler Chamber Orchestra. These episodes have been generously supported by the German Federal Government Commissioner for Culture and the Media through Neustart Kultur, a funding program for digital content production in cultural organizations. Don't forget to leave a review or a rating on Apple or Spotify. Between the Bars team is Matthias Meyer, Rick Willebrotz, and me, Yannick Donderlanger. Don't forget, keep listening.
Between the Bars.